afternoon to you viewers, the Colonel speaking to you live from the Preceptory for British Imperial YouTube Broadcasting, and here we are yet again with the Squire. Good afternoon, Squire, hope you're well.
Good afternoon everyone, yes I'm very well thank you.
And you're going to demonstrate this interesting machine for us.
Well, this is another homemade one. The other one I showed you the other day was the one with the brass horn that I'd made. This was one I made about 2 years later in 2000. And I was there again using up spare bits. I wanted to do a bit of experimenting. Now this is really quite simple. It consists of a Gilbert Tonearm with a Geisha soundbox, Gilbert Geisha soundbox, and the cabinet is basically the lid of another record player that was being disposed of. So it's a bit of recycling really. All I did was to put a bottom board in the cabinet and then make a very simple internal horn that runs right round the back of the cabinet to there. So it runs that sort of shape, and it's made out of, only just made simply out of plywood, and I incorporated an electric motor. It really gives quite reasonable results.
Well, it's certainly unusual.
I'll play it and see what you think of it. This is a 1920s Brunswick played by Benny Kruger and his orchestra, called That Old Gang of Mine.
Right. Well, that was a jolly good sound, wasn't it?
It's not too bad for its time.
Well, I don't mean the record, the machine has got such a simple horn.
It's quite powerful, and that is an acoustic record. What we could try is later electrical recording before I try a few novelty ones in a minute. This one is one made in 1936 by Louis Levy and his Gaumont British Symphony.
Oh yes.
And this is a piece called Empire Builders March.
Empire Builders March, that sounds like the sort of thing we like here. Well, that was jolly good too.
Now I haven't finished with that one.
Ah.
Now you might be getting a bit tired of that. Let's try something else, shall we?
Why not?
We'll show you the party piece of this one. We'll actually play the record backwards.
something of Star Wars to that.
It is, but this is the party piece for this one.
Now, can you guess what's going on, viewers? Don't try that at home with any other turntable.
No. Well, if I can explain what happens.
Certainly.
We have here what was called a Simpson's electric turntable.
If I can get a bit closer.
I'll turn that around the right. There we are. That'll be probably a bit easier there. Simpson's electric turntable. Now, this is an early example. In fact, it's one of the first examples I know of what today they would call a direct drive turntable.
Right.
There's no idler wheel, there's no governors, there's no mechanics in it at all.
How many moving parts are there?
Just one, and that's the turntable.
Right.
Now if I take it off, I'll show you what happens. Now under here, this is part of the motor, and what you've got round here is a ring of electromagnets.
Right, and that is fixed, isn't it?
That is fixed. There's a centre bearing, but that's a ring of electromagnets. Now in here, in the turntable, there is a ring of permanent magnets.
Ah, yes.
Now, what you have to do to run this is to actually, you have to give it a spin to start it. It's not self-starting.
Because I should say, it's plugged in, viewers. It's not mechanical.
No, you switch it on and nothing happens, but then you've got to give the turntable a spin and get it up to speed. And then it locks into speed at around just above 78 RPM, and then when the sound box or pickup goes on, it'll drop down to around about 78. So
and what was the idea of this turntable?
I'm not really sure. I think it was an American development they adopted. I haven't seen another one that early. Direct drive turntables became very popular with hi-fi enthusiasts, particularly in the 1970s and 80s, and you can still buy direct drive turntables today, but the modern ones are self-starting. This one doesn't.
And this has its added advantage in that all you have to do is to remove the clockwork motor from a gramophone.
Absolutely, yeah.
There's a central bolt underneath that fitting we saw. That fits in underneath, well, where the spindle hole would be on a gramophone, and you run the wire through the original handle hole.
Absolutely. It was meant to convert basically it was meant to convert a wind-up gramophone from clockwork to electric.
Although I do notice, I have seen a lot of EMGs seem to use these things.
Well, there again, it's a simple piece of equipment, and it does its job quite well, really.
Yeah, I saw some original paperwork for one of these, or an advert actually, which says it runs at 79 point something or other RPM, so that when the pickup or needle is on it, it is actually running at 78.
Exactly. I thought we'd try another record.
Great.
And I'm hoping this will go. I haven't tried it with one of these needles, so we'll see. This is one of those Goodson records. They're made in white celluloid. You can do all sorts of things with them, as well as hopefully in a minute see if it will play, see if it will behave itself. Sometimes these don't. So how if I turn the current on? See what happens. Now let's see if it'll behave itself.
That was okay, wasn't it?
Now the fun is, what's that called? Because it's certainly not either of these two, Light of Foot March or Washington Post.
No, it is not.
It's the German march of some description. I don't know what it is.
I do know, but I can't remember the title.
No, I can't remember. Let's try the other side and see if that one is correct. They've obviously mislabelled this one. Let's see what this one is.
That's Washington Post.
That's definitely Washington Post.
that was
and
great.
that's a bit of a burst of Washington Post. These, it just says Boston Military Band, and the other side is, straight enough, Milan Military Band. It's obviously quite well disguised. I think these were made in about 1928-29, if I remember rightly.
Yes, they didn't last for very long, Goodson Records, I think, because they distort.
They do, actually.
And here's another one that does that as well.
Now, this is another novelty record of the 30s. This is a filmophone. There again, this is coloured celluloid. So yes, we'll see what this one sounds like. These always play. You have to sort of bend them into a dished, like they're slightly dished to play properly.
Yes.
And they shouldn't be too bad. Let's see what we get on it. And that is a Robert Stolz one, isn't it?
It is indeed.
It says Two Hearts. It's actually a German waltz called Two Hearts in a Waltz Refrain, I think they call that one.
Right, yes, indeed.
Robert Stolz. It says it's Al Shane's orchestra.
Right.
These are all, there again, these are fairly well disguised. I think I think some of them are quite good stampers. I think there was some quite good jazz ones on there, actually.
Oh yes, I've got Cab Calloway's Al Dollar and his 50 cents.
Exactly, that's right. Yes, indeed.
Al Dollar and his 10 cents. That's right.
That's it. Yes. Yeah, we have to.
I should say you didn't hurt that record by playing it with steel. They were intended to be played with steel needles.
What I'm actually using, what is called it's a trailer.
Oh, a trailer needle. Yes,
for
that's
that
slightly
one.
bent at the end. Let's see if we can get that in profile.
Yes, that's a trailer needle.
There we go. So you can see it's bent at the
Doesn't
end.
dig in the record.
No.
Well, now another thing they turned out were early picture discs. These are true sound records. They're again, I think about 1932, 33, and some of them can be a little bit racy. Look at this one.
Oh yes.
It's quite exciting, different for that time.
Very unusual.
Well, let's try a bit of this. These sometimes don't play very well because they usually get a bit
Well, they're
battered.
just a printed picture underneath
Absolutely.
a clear
Right. Shall we get on this
celluloid.
There we are, a bit of that one.
That was great. Certainly a swinger in more ways than one.
Oh, so let's see if the other side's any better. Let's see if it's...
Reminds me of Josephine Baker.
It does actually, yes, it's right. See if this is any better. Let's see if I can find this sound box doesn't fit all that, but I'll lock it up a bit next time.
Very jazzy. I wonder who that was playing on there.
Well, now this is on this side. It says Chris Denver, and that last one was called "Heading for a Wedding," played by Chris Denver and his dance orchestra, and the other side was Mademoiselle, played by the same band. Obviously, if one could trace the recordings, one could know who these people actually were. It's obviously a assumed name. But these really are quite rare, these picture records nowadays.
Indeed.
I've got 2 or 3 of them. That's probably the best condition. The other one I've got is a Dewar's Scottish Whisky advert.
Oh yes.
Another one, and one for United Dairies.
Yes, yes.
But that gives you some idea of what this thing will do.
Mm.
It was, just an idea that I had. I'm hoping to make a few more machines another day. I just need to get cracking with it.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Weren't you going to make one with several horns coming out of it?
I've got ideas I want to try. It's just getting, well, now I've got retired now, I should have time to do a bit more of it now. So yes, well, that's the second one. That's I've made two so far, this one and the other one. So I'll try and get one made as soon as possible. I'll show it to you.
Well, that'll be great. I'm sure we'll enjoy that. Well, thank you very much for your time and showing us this machine. And well, we'll see what we can do for another video another day.
Well, what we'll do when you come to the lay rectory next time, we'll maybe have a tour of the gramophone room where I've got some of my other gramophones, and we'll demonstrate, have a series of demonstrations, one or two at a time, and go through some of them.
Well, that'll be great.
Interspersed with a few memories of where I got them from and whatnot. So
maybe play a few at the same time for us.
Yes,
That'll be wonderful. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, viewers, and goodbye.